What's up, guys? Welcome to Couple of Nightmares. I'm Moyra.
And I'm Phoenix, aka Alec.
And today, Phoenix will be reading.
Well, I'm Alec, aka Phoenix.
Well, so Alec. I'm sorry. Babe. I refer to you as Babe.
So we're going to be reading 3 creepy Let's Not Meet stories that will make you fear strangers.
Let's get into it.
The links to the original Reddit stories will be linked in the description down below. That way you guys can go read these for yourself. Thank you to the individuals that uploaded these. So let's get into this. Roommate wanted, female only. Amanda is my brother's girlfriend. At the time of this story, she was looking for her first apartment and moving out from her parents' house. Her and my brother didn't want to move in together since they had only dated for a few months. She opted instead to search for a roommate online.
Oof.
Browsing Craigslist.
No, not Craigslist. Why would you do Craigslist?
Of
That's
all
the worst
things.
place to find a roommate.
She found an ad titled something like "Roommate Wanted, Females Only." This sort of thing was common since the area she was looking in was mostly young professionals. The listing was for a room in a house for about $225 a month, which was quite cheap. The occupant listed herself as a 23-year-old college student that wasn't comfortable with living with any males. The other roommate would have their own room and attached bathroom. So far, Amanda was into this place. However, the listing only had a single photo from outside the property.
Oh, hell no.
That's red flag number one.
I was going to say that's
one photo.
That's the real estate red flag number one.
I wouldn't even buy an iPhone case that only had like
one photo.
Well, I mean, yeah, some things there's only one photo.
No.
But like there's a house where you're going to live, one photo.
Yes, exactly.
Amanda sent an email wanting to meet the occupant and tour the house. Within 30 minutes, she received an email back with all the details and time to stop by. The girl worked late hours and wanted Amanda to stop by at 8 p.m. When Amanda arrives, there's a handwritten note on the front door saying, "Door broken, use back door." Walking around the house, it looks nice but slightly unkept. Tall grass, weeds, dusty windows, etc. Still no alarms for Amanda though. Amanda.
That's what I'm saying.
No alarms.
None whatsoever.
No red flags yet.
If I was by myself, I would have left.
Yeah, by myself, that might gotta be strike 2. When she knocks on the back door, an older man opens the door. At first, Amanda thinks she has the wrong house, but the man reassures her and says that the occupant, I forget her name, was out and he was the landlord. The occupant asked him to meet Amanda since she was working late. He seemed pleasant and offered to show her around. Alarms start going off. Okay, Amanda, we're on the same page now. I think you and Amanda are all on the same page. I think even with the viewers at home, we're all on the same page.
Everyone's like,
right?
What are we doing?
First, the guy was clearly in his 40s, unshaven, and looked like he lived in his car.
Boy.
Also, only the kitchen light was on. As they walked around the house, Amanda noticed one huge red flag. No furniture, nothing.
What the
The landlord was polite about answering questions, but seemed irritable to keep lights on for too long, rushing her around and only letting her look at rooms for a few moments. There was a single room that the landlord wouldn't open, telling her that it was the occupant's room and he didn't want to invade her privacy. As they walk down the hallway into the living room, she notices the front door has a plank nailed across it. Broken for sure. A plank nailed across it does not mean broken.
A plank nailed across it means I don't want you to leave.
And I don't want you to come in from that side.
That's insane.
That's what that means.
Literally, the second he said, I don't want to open up the room, which I do understand. It's somebody else's room. But still, I'm leaving. Why isn't the girl that I'm going to share the room with here?
Amanda's creepometer is starting to ding, so she decides to wrap up the walkthrough and leave, but trying to do so politely. As she's given the guy her thanks for the showing bit, he perks up and states that he forgot to show her the basement.
Boy.
It's recently furnished and...
Boy.
Wait,
what?
So the rest of the house has no furniture, but the basement is recently furnished.
Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me?
It's recently furnished and would be a great rec room. And and she should take a look down there.
What?
At the time, Amanda and the landlord are standing in the small hallway between the front living room and the back kitchen. In this little hallway was the basement door, When he opens the door, it opens outward, creating something of a barrier between Amanda and the back door.
Oh no.
The basement is pitch black. He smiles, motions down the stairs, and says, "Ladies first."
Oh hell no. Oh hell no.
Those are one of those like really tough like predicaments, right? Because you don't want to jump the gun whether or not you're in danger or not, because you can put yourself in more danger by jumping the gun too early because you have no escape. So now you have to fight. There is no flight in the opposite direction.
Right.
And then if you're innocent, then you've started a situation, and then now you have to defend yourself when you wasn't in any danger to begin with, and you were just being cautious.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's one of those like really tough predicaments, and usually cooler heads prevail.
Or you gotta act like your phone is ringing and be like, oh snap, I gotta go, I have an emergency.
Oof. What happens next is nothing more than a stroke of luck. Amanda gets a text just as some random person parks in front of the house. Thinking on her feet, she pretends it's a phone call and answers her phone. "Hey, yeah, are you here? I'll come out around back and let you in. It's great. You have to see it." With a motion of confidence, she excuses herself around the landlord and walks out the back door. She says the guy just looked at her like he was confused. Once outside, she sprinted to her car and sped like hell out of there. When Amanda got home, she told her mother and my brother everything. Cops were called, they took her statement and went to investigate. The Craigslist post had been removed.
No.
Epilogue. So I guess this is like after, like kind of, you know.
Okay, afterwards.
The house had been foreclosed over 6 months earlier and the property had been abandoned.
Oh, no.
When the police investigated, they found that the closed room the landlord, quote unquote, didn't want her to look in was where the man had been staying.
Of course. I had a feeling.
So he's a squatter.
He was a squatter.
There was a pile of old dirty blankets, rotten food, and empty gallon jugs everywhere.
What the heck?
More creepy was he had plastered ripped up pages from porno mags on all the walls in the room. Where do you even find porno magazines? The man had tied a thin piece of fishing twine at about shin level across the stairs about halfway down.
Nah, boy.
The basement was empty except another pile of old blankets, a broom handle wrapped in leather belts, and a small box with a few rolls of assorted tape, duct, electric, etc. Amanda ended up not moving in. I mean, no duh. Yo.
No one would have moved in. That's insane. I'm glad she actually called the cops. That's crazy.
So now we got our answer.
Heck yeah.
He put fishing line at shin level. That's why he wanted her to go first.
He wanted her to trip. It's disgusting though. And that's exactly why you don't go and find roommates on Craigslist. That's literally the reason why.
Facts.
Literally.
All right, you ready? Story number 2. Never take powdered envelopes from strangers. The other day at work, we were basically told to look out for ourselves and others, wait for a security guard, etc. Now, this was a normal thing for the suburb we live in, but it was still a bit strange.
Wait, where do they work at? Does it say?
No.
Okay.
My friend from Nightfield told me why. Their friend and coworker finished up at around 12 that morning and was approached by this guy when he was at his car. The guy looked pretty normal, trackies and all, and gave him an envelope claiming that there were free Fringe tickets inside. Side note for clarification, Fringe is an art festival like music and comedy and dancing, etc. in the CBD. There was some sort of white powder on the ticket, but he just assumed it was cocaine or something. Again, not uncommon in this area, so just grabbed it, planning to throw it out later because it was probably counterfeit. Even if it was just cocaine, like people have not heard of fentanyl. Not wanting to spark any conflict, it's unpredictable around here, especially at 12 a.m. Okay, so now we have a slight reason as to why he did it. His mates came out at around 12:15 to see him with something like burns on his hand where he touched the powder and felt like he was burning on the inside and couldn't breathe properly. Luckily, he was still conscious and told them to take him to the hospital, which luckily wasn't that far away. They got there and practically everyone that came in contact with them felt like they were burning under their skin and were all having breathing difficulties within minutes. They had to call hazmat fireys and everyone was decontaminated. Luckily, everyone is okay.
Luckily?
What type of weird ass substance is that?
This is what I mean. Like, why are we not using our common sense? Like I know common sense isn't common, but jeez Louise, why are we touching a powder? Well,
at 12 a.m.
At 12 a.m.
Story number 3.
I'm not ready.
The creepy mountain man. I was 17 at the time and I had just gotten my first job. I lived in rural Western Virginia in a small mountain community. My mom's friend owned a camping resort not far from my house that had a general store, and she said she'd pay me to help out in the store during the busy months in the summer.
That's nice.
It was a pretty easy job, and I met a lot of out-of-towners, which was nice because our community could get so isolated. Most of us lived pretty far away from each other. One day, a big burly mountain man type came into the store. He was in his late 40s / early 50s, probably 6'5" and about 280 pounds. He looked dirty, like he worked outside a lot. His clothes were sort of tattered and he had a long beard. He bought some basic items, one of which was one of our homemade bars of soap. When he came to the register, he looked me up and down carefully. He didn't talk for a minute, just stared. His people skills clearly needed work. Here's a conversation that they ended up having.
Oh no.
Did you make this soap? He asked gruffly. Possibly, I said. I help out with that sometimes. You make a lot of your own stuff? Toiletries and things like that, yeah. I like that, he said, nodding to himself. I honestly did not know how to respond.
Yeah. How do you respond to that?
I don't know.
Thank you? I don't know.
Thanks, I guess. I quickly rang up his items and he paid with crumpled money. Right before he left, he asked, "You cook too?" "Sometimes," I replied. "Bet the boys around here are itching to marry you," he said as he smiled to himself.
Oh, so it's a female that's at the counter. Okay, I was wondering like.
Oh, you thought it was a male?
I didn't know.
I don't know. I could just tell that this was.
Really?
I could tell that this was. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I could just tell. I said nothing. I was puzzled as to what I said that stood out as wife material. I told Krista, mom's friend / boss, about the bizarre encounter, and she laughed it off. So did my family and friends. But then, Mountain Man started turning up more often.
Boy.
We chatted a little bit here and there, and I found out he had a cabin in the woods. He claimed he built with his bare hands. He said he hunted and lived off the land, other than the things he bought at the store. Over time, our chatter escalated, with him making comments about how nice it would be to have a woman like me around who can make those things and cook his kills. One time, he even said I had the birthing hips that men lust after. Shudder. This is the start of a scary movie.
You see my face? This is on some I will kidnap you and make you my wife type behavior.
Yeah, basically. This is the type of people you have to literally note.
Yeah.
Like noted. Like, you know how
every time I see if I was that person, if every time I saw him coming around, I would go hide.
Yeah, like
in the bathroom.
Yeah, like you got to limit your interactions with these types of people. Especially after a comment like that, birthing hip.
But first of all, off the first comment, it was on some, yeah, you need to go, buddy.
He even started inviting me to fish with him, hunt with him, see his place, etc. And I always politely declined. But he got more and more insistent, and I told Krista about how uncomfortable he was starting to make me. The intensity with which he said those things really scared me. She said that when he came in, go get her, and she would ring him up. Thanks to her, I started speaking to him less, and I thought I wouldn't have to deal with him anymore. But one night, I was closing up, and it was late, around 10 at night. Krista had left about an hour before, and I was leaving by myself. The only two cars in front of the store were an old blue pickup and mine. I was immediately alarmed because I knew Mountain Man drove a blue pickup.
Boy.
But I didn't see him in the lot, just his car. So I walked quickly to my car and checked the backseat before I started her up. You know, a lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't check the
about
back seat. That used to be a thing back in the day. Like, people would break into your car and just lay
get
low.
in the back seat,
You'd get in, and then they just, you know, you're at their mercy.
Yeah, literally.
She checked the back seat. Yo,
Yep.
A lot of people don't check the
back seat. I do that when I go places by myself and I feel like a little weary. I'd be
You
like,
check the back seat?
yeah.
That's smart. But then, when I first turned the key into the ignition, I got nothing but sputters. Of course. Of course. It's when you need it the most.
Boy.
Shit like that happens when you need it the most. I tried several more times and got scared quickly. Of all nights, why is this happening tonight? I remember asking myself angrily, just as I was reaching for my phone to call for help. There was a loud pounding on the driver's side window. I'm shocked that I didn't piss myself. I didn't even want to look because I knew it was him, but I did, and my suspicions were confirmed. He smiled a big grin at me, showing me exactly which teeth were missing.
Oh boy.
Need some help? He said loudly through the window. I shook my head furiously.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. Not the mm-mm.
My dad is on his way, I said, hoping to scare him off. I hadn't spoken to my dad in years.
Oh shit.
Oh shit. She pulling out the deep lies.
Yeah, she's like, no, I'm not with this right now. I cannot have you believe that I am here by myself and I will allow you to help me. No.
Mountain Man laughed. No, he's not.
Oh,
he said, open the door. Oh shit. The hairs on my neck stood up straight. How did he know I was bluffing? Yo, that's dark. That's some scary shit.
I'm not gonna lie.
That's how you know somebody's a professional criminal.
I'm not gonna lie.
He laughed before he said that.
I feel like he was.
I don't mean to laugh.
I feel like he was just listening in on like conversations and shit. I feel like he was just on some like really creeper stalker shit. Whenever she didn't work, like he'd just hang out there, like or just like just I don't know, like paid someone to find info or something. You never
Nowadays,
know.
it's probably not that fucking hard to like once you find out somebody's name and where they work and where they live, like you can just start Googling them on Facebook and you can kind of, if the person's like kind of public, like you could kind of start to build an image of their life if you really want to stalk somebody, you know?
True.
He said, no, he's not. Open the door.
Boy.
The hairs on my neck stood straight up. How did he know I was bluffing? No, I said firmly. Leave me alone. Suddenly, he looked angry. He pulled the handle, but I had locked all the doors when I first got in.
Good.
She checked the back seat and locked the doors.
That's what I'm saying. She's smart.
She's on timing with it. He kept furiously pulling the handle and started pounding on the window. Leave now or I'm calling the cops, I screamed at him. He clearly wasn't getting the message, so I pulled out my phone and called 911. I must have sounded hysterical to the dispatcher, and I knew she can hear him pounding. She said she would have officers out ASAP. But out here, that could be a while. The cops are on their way. Leave now, I screamed at Mountain Man, who didn't seem to let it deter him. But after a few more minutes of pounding, he suddenly stopped and walked back to his truck. I watched him go, hopeful he would leave me alone.
Oh my goodness.
But then,
he didn't. He didn't.
But then he started walking back towards me with a fucking crowbar in his hand.
You know what's smart?
What?
Like if she kind of peeped and tried to see if his car was on, and then just ran to his car and just
drove off in that shit.
With his car.
Yo, that's gangster. Drive that shit straight to the police precinct. But then he started walking back toward me with a fucking crowbar in his hand. No, I screamed at him. Get the F away from me. He started swinging at the driver's side window with the crowbar. I ducked down into the passenger seat on the floor and covered the back of my neck like they teach you in tornado drills. I heard the sickening crack of the window, but not for long. Suddenly, I heard male voices shouting, telling Mountain Man to get away from the car. I sat up and saw two men approaching, one with a shotgun pointed at Mountain Man. Damn, the Avengers assembled. I recognized them as a couple of guests staying at the resort for a camping trip. I breathed a sigh of relief and got out of the car, telling them that the police were on the way. I thanked them profusely as we waited for the police, and surprisingly, Mountain Man didn't make any moves to get away. but the cops came pretty quickly after that, so he didn't have much of a chance. They took him away and I gave them my statement. I was pretty shaken up for a while afterwards. A few weeks later, I finally got the scoop on the man. Apparently, he had a history of mental illness. He had been in and out of state institutions. He really had been living in an old cabin in the woods where he wasn't taking his meds. They found a journal that Mountain Man kept. Apparently, in it, he said he was lonely and wanted a wife. He mentioned me by name a lot.
Oh my gosh.
Stupid name tag, she puts. And Luke, I'm assuming that that's one of her coworkers, said that there were a lot of lewd things in there about me that he didn't want to share, but tried to put it simply by saying that Mountain Man had a detailed plan to abduct me.
I told you. I knew it.
Starting with sabotaging my car engine to get me into a vulnerable position.
Boy.
When Luke said that, I nearly burst into tears, thinking about how horribly that night could have gone if those two men hadn't come along.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he has been put back into a state institution. With any luck, he'll stay there for good. Mountain Man, let's not meet again.
Please.
Oh man, that's dramatic.
Do you see? So now you understand how traumatic it can be to be a female, because it can escalate very quickly.
Thankfully, she's okay.
Yeah.
Like we said before, all the stories are linked in the description down below. If you guys enjoyed this episode, like the video. If you have any stories that you want to share with us, that you want us to read up here, just send it to the email that's linked in the description box down below. And until next time,